That's not a recent photograph, Risteard.
That is about, I'd say 20 years ago. I don't know, what they need. All they have to do is look up the internet.
Look up the internet.
But yeah, that is my article.
Hot the Reds, then screw back.
Are we actually going to talk about this?
Absolutely. To the days when I was truly snooker loopy. So it's a reflection, sort of a craving for times of yore.
Well, it is a little bit. I mean, there is I suppose, you know, I mentioned it in the article that I was pretty snooker obsessed, and there's it is around that time, the 80s, and the battle, I suppose, between conformity and anarchy, and Alex Higgins, Jimmy White, and Steve Davis, and Terry Griffiths and people like that. Terry Griffiths still has the most remarkable hair, I think, of any snooker generation, I mean, I was so obsessed with it. What got me really obsessed with it was that I mean, as well, it's a well-established, brilliant match between Higgins and White in 1982, and at that stage as well, the snooker was covered all the time. Yes. It was on live on BBC, and they had an amazing commentary team, Whispering Ted Lowe, and a fella called Jack Carnham, and Clive Everton as well. Clive Everton, who was very, very, determined to describe Alex Higgins as being very loyal to the crown. And during the snooker match, you go, what the hell has that got to do with anything? But so I got so obsessed with it that I turned our kind of buckety dining table into, I put 6 polystyrene cups. Yeah. And, you know, kind of makeshift queue and everything, and painted table tennis balls, red, white, and black. Right. And away I went. Yeah. Cushions.
You get pretty good. I mean, if you were to, at any point after that, go onto an actual table, you presumably would be pretty expert.
Well, yeah. There was a bit of a tenuous link between that form of snooker and the actual thing on a full-size table. But I did eventually make a break of 87. And right. So misspent youth, my backside, is all I can say. But yeah, no, I just looking at it recently, and I still will look at the final, and that's kind of the point of the article, that even though you kind of fall out of love with something, I still can't help but watch it. And
it's exclusively on Eurosport now, is that?
It seems to be on Eurosport Live more than any other channel. I think BBC will show the final live, but it's a little bit like the way they cover tennis, almost like the Australian Open or something, where they show the latter stages. BBC this is live, but everything else is kind of pre-recorded. It's really like, you know, the graveyard shift. They have recorded highlights from midnight till 2 in the morning. Right. But otherwise it's on live on Eurosport with Colin Murray, the sort of cheeky guy from BBC, and everything's just like he's really bigging everything up, and it's all absolutely fantastic. And I'm here with Jimmy White, and Jimmy White's so, yeah, bloody hell, I'll just get out of bed for this. Jimmy White has no telly kind of, nous at all. He's just like, he behaves on a TV set like he would in the Jacks, you feel. There's just no effort at all. Apart from his hair, he's obviously put a lot of effort into his hair.
I don't have Eurosport. It turns out and I no real sort of reason to find out if I had Eurosport or not up until I actually read your piece last night, and I thought, I'll throw on a bit of snooker and have a look. Yeah. And it turns out one of the sports channels I actually don't have. Yeah,
it's a good channel. I mean, it's good for tennis. I don't know whether you like tennis, but
I know you're a tennis nut.
I'm a bit of a tennis nut, yeah. And the last few years as well, the last decade has re-established tennis. I think it was in trouble around the Pete Sampras era. It was very. I just think any individual sport, if it's dominated to that extent by one individual, it's really tedious.
It can get a bit dull. Yeah. So I guess it used to be a bit of an event. It was an event sport, wasn't it, for quite a while? And it's just the fact that it does strike me that, like, the BBC giving it that sort of tokenism of a bit of highlights after midnight and we'll show the final. You don't get invested in a tournament events like that. You come to it at the final and you haven't seen much of it.
They're trying to make a big deal about it's like trying to pluck a story out of it from somewhere. That Ronnie O'Sullivan, Ali Carter spat, and it's kind of like I think they were having a bit of crack because they were.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit
bored
bored.
themselves almost. Yeah. I had this Steve Davis Pot Black table. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
In the must have been the 80s. I myself and my brother set up. We had a spare room in the house that used to be a shop, bizarrely, and had no purpose other than to be the crucible for about a month of the year, where we would go in and we would set it up perfectly with the chairs in sort of either corner, and we'd have the sort of glass of orange juice and stuff in the middle. We didn't smoke or anything like that, but we definitely had it set up at the crucible. The only slight difference was that we used to thump 7 shades out of each other when things weren't going in each other's sort of direction. So
with or without cues?
Like, generally without, but down? I mean, I'd be certain enough that at some point or another there was the odd dig was given, but
yeah,
no, it'd be full on warfare. That my father would generally have to come in and sort of either throw one of us out or sort of calm things down or whatever.
Yeah. Was this on like a 6x3 or something, or
what size? It must have been. Yeah, it must have been a 6x3. Yeah, it wasn't anywhere near full size necessarily. Like, it was rickety enough.
Could you fold it?
No, you couldn't fold it, but it wasn't either as if it was sort of put together with any sort of great hardware or anything.
It wasn't
like
a slate bed, for example.
It was not a slate bed, it was chipboard.
Yeah, that was the thing. Well, I used to iron my table.
Right.
And, it was only, because I thought that's what I was looking at on during the World Championships, when they had no coverage on. They used to kind of do these little kind of documentaries as part of the little reports on how to look after your table.
Right. Okay.
And one of them was ironing your table.
Right.
So I did the same thing, like with my Maz Moulinex.
Did it work?
Well, it I don't know. It kind of worked, but there was no reason for it because there wasn't a slate bed. It was a chipboard as well. It's totally, like not relevant to do that. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed ironing my table, interestingly, more than ever ironing a shirt. I think ironing a shirt has to still be
up there with the greatest tedium, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Anyone who can do it with a smile on their face.
Actors don't have to do it. You see, that's the key.
Well, this is it. I get my shirts ironed by some runner.